It was the end of a long, exhausting day at work when my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, then at Emma's name. It was strange. She never called me during work hours, and I told her I had a lot of urgent things to do. But I answered anyway, thinking she probably wanted to talk like we used to. As soon as I heard her voice, I knew something was wrong. The usual warmth was gone. Her tone was cold and emotionless. "David," she began in a commanding tone, "I think it's time we ended this. I want a divorce." My heart stopped. I froze, trying to comprehend what she had said. "Divorce?" I repeated, incredulous. Yes, we had arguments. We had difficulties. But nothing that could mean the end of everything. Nothing that deserved such a cruel decision. I gasped for air, trying to collect myself. "Why, Emma? Are you serious?" "I've been thinking about this for a long time," she said, even more detached. "I just don't want to be with you anymore. It's over." Her words hit me like a hammer. I was overcome with shock and confusion. My chest tightened. Where did this come from? Sure, we had problems, but divorce, out of the blue. I tried to respond. "Emma, wait. I don't—" But she cut me off. "I don't want to talk about this right now," she said sharply. "I've already spoken to my lawyer. If you have any questions, talk to him." Then the connection was cut. Just like that. For no reason. There was no way to understand. I stared at the phone, my hands shaking. The word divorce rang in my ears, and I couldn't believe it. I thought everything was fine. Now I was left to pick up the pieces of the marriage I believed in. I wanted to fall apart. But I also knew I couldn't let it destroy me. Not yet. Not without answers. Taking a deep breath, I decided to take her advice. I talked to her lawyer. I needed to know why this had happened and why she had left me in the lurch. The drive home felt surreal, more like a nightmare. The turns, the traffic lights, even the familiar streets I had driven down hundreds of times in my life were barely recognizable. Everything looked the same, but nothing was the same. I felt my hands shake as I pulled into the driveway. I grabbed the steering wheel and closed my eyes, praying that the storm raging inside me would subside. I thought that if nothing else went wrong, Emma and I would work things out. But now it seemed to me that she had given up on our marriage because she simply considered it outdated and no longer wanted it, like someone giving away a shirt they no longer liked. I got out of the car and went into the house. Everything looked the same. Her things untouched, the furniture in place, the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. But something was missing. The warmth, the closeness, the comfort I had felt before were all gone. My body moved as if on autopilot, and my thoughts froze in the place where I had dropped my briefcase by the door after that last phone call. Divorce. I still couldn't believe it. I collapsed onto the sofa in the living room, but never had silence been so loud. I looked at the photos on the wall. Our wedding, our trip to Italy, us laughing in the kitchen, the remnants of the life I had considered mine. I ran my hand through my hair and sighed. I needed answers. I wanted to know what had happened. Why didn't she talk to me first? Why so suddenly? But Emma wasn't there. She left me to figure it all out on my own. I thought about calling her and demanding an explanation, but I was smart enough not to. She had made her decision. There was no emotion in her voice. It wasn't up for discussion. It was final. A sense of disappointment grew inside me. Had I missed some signs? Had she been preparing for this for weeks? Months? I replayed every argument, every cold look, every prolonged silence in my head. But nothing seemed final. More like the end of the first chapter. I sat down, resting my elbows on my knees, and stared blankly at the floor. I had a choice. I could let this break me, or I could take the blow. Emma had chosen without me. I could only control my reaction. My phone was on the coffee table. I picked it up and scrolled through my contacts until I found his name. Henry Clark, her lawyer. I clenched my jaw. If Emma wouldn't give me answers, maybe her lawyer would. I pressed the call button. My heart was pounding. Henry Clark's office, how can I help you? A voice answered. I took a deep breath. My name is David Lopez. I was told to call Mr. Clark about my wife, Emma Lopez. There was a pause. Ah, yes, Mr. Lopez. Please hold. I waited in a daze, clutching the phone in my hands, my brain working overtime. What was she hiding? Why the rush? And why did I feel like this was just the beginning? The hold music was muffled, which only added to my anxiety. I drummed my fingers on my knee, trying to stay calm. Finally, a voice came through. Mr. Lopez? Yes, I replied. This is Henry Clark. His voice was formal, but there was something strange about it. A sharpness. I've been waiting for your call. Can we meet tomorrow morning? I'd like to meet today, I replied quickly. I'm sorry, that's not possible, Mr. Lopez. My office, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. It wasn't a question. It was an order, just like Emma's phone call. Okay, I said, I'll be there. Behind my back, she was plotting and secretly filing for divorce, thinking she could just take half of everything. How long had she been planning this? How long had I lived in the same house with someone who was plotting against me behind my back? By the time I got home and parked in the driveway, I was grinding my teeth so hard I was afraid I'd break them. I needed to think clearly. I had to act smart. If I let myself feel anything, I'd lose everything. I entered the house, closed the door, and sighed. The scent of vanilla and jasmine, her favorite flowers, still lingered in the air. And here, where I once felt at home, there was nothing now. Now it was empty, as if all the walls had collapsed on me. I sat there again, alone in the middle of the living room, my thoughts racing. Emma wasn't just leaving me. She was trying to rob me. Either I let her dictate the terms and take the money she didn't work for, or I stood my ground and defended what I had earned. I picked up the phone and dialed the number of the person I knew could help me. Chris Evans. He was not only my best friend, but also the best lawyer I knew. Chris was a trusted friend, unlike Henry Clark, who was helping Emma. I pressed call. After 2 rings, he answered. David? His voice was cautious. What's going on? Please help me, I said firmly. Emma wants a divorce and is claiming my inheritance. After a pause, he whistled softly. Damn, I hoped I'd never hear news like that. Yeah, I replied bitterly. Welcome to the club. All right, Chris said, switching to a business tone. Start from the beginning. I continued pacing the living room and telling him everything, about Emma's unexpected call, the coldness in her voice, Henry's strange behavior, and the sensational news about the inheritance. Chris listened silently until I finished. Then he exhaled sharply. She knew, he said. She found out about the money and timed the divorce to get her share. Exactly, I said. So what do I do? Clark, let's get one thing straight, Chris said seriously. Don't put that money in a joint account. If even a single dollar ends up in the joint account, she can claim it as joint property. I haven't touched it, I assured him. Okay, he said. We'll make sure she doesn't get anything. Those words gave me strength. She may have surprised me, but I wasn't going to let her win. Chris said, We need to hurry. I'll file for division of the estate. In the meantime, stay calm. Don't do anything rash. I exhaled slowly. I won't. Chris smiled. I'm serious. Emma plays dirty, but you can't let that confuse you. You have the advantage, if you stay on your toes. The next morning, I woke up with a clear head for the first time in days. The betrayal still hurt, but it didn't break me. It emboldened me. Emma seemed convinced she was in control. She believed I would simply give in, sign the papers, and let her steal my inheritance. She was wrong. I checked my phone. Chris had sent me the separation papers ahead of time. I replied immediately, "Got it. Let's move fast." Then I did something I never thought I would do. I started separating my finances. Chris warned me that if any part of the inheritance was mixed in with our joint accounts, Emma could claim her share. So I didn't hesitate. I transferred all my personal savings to a private account in my name. I also transferred my salary to another account. Emma hadn't touched our joint funds yet, which told me one thing. She was waiting, probably to cash out when I wasn't looking. But I noticed, and I wasn't going to let her steal from me. Now that my money was safe, I moved on to phase 2, gathering information. I scrolled through emails, bills, and financial statements, trying to determine when Emma had found out about the inheritance. Then something caught my eye. About 3 months ago, I noticed a suspicious charge on our joint credit card, a payment to a private investigator. My stomach sank. Emma had hired a private investigator. The next day, I walked into Henry Clark's office with Chris by my side. Henry sat across from us, his expression unreadable. Emma sat frozen in her chair, her arms crossed and her gaze cold. I didn't waste any time. I put the evidence on the table. Emma looked down, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "What is this?" she asked, her voice strained. I tilted my head. "Come on, Emma, don't insult my intelligence." Her lawyer, whom I had never met before, leaned forward and took off his glasses. "Are you accusing my client of something, Mr. Lopez?" Chris smiled coldly. "We're not accusing, we're proving. Your client is transferring joint funds to personal accounts under fictitious names. That's fraud." The room fell silent. Emma's lawyer suddenly turned to her. "Emma, is this true?" Emma turned pale. She swallowed hard. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, but it is," I interjected, leaning toward her. "And here's what we're going to do. You renounce the divorce settlement. You take everything you brought into this marriage and leave. Otherwise, we'll go to court, and you'll lose everything." Emma opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. She knew she was cornered, and her lawyer immediately whispered, "I don't know, Emma. I really think we should reconsider." Emma's eyes met mine, full of rage and despair, but I didn't care. She wanted to destroy me, and I turned the tables on her. Having been the center of attention, she finally turned away and muttered, "Fine." Chris smirked. "Smart choice." Henry sighed and leaned back in his chair. "Then I guess we have a deal." When I walked out of that office, I felt lighter than I had in months. It was finally over. Emma had lost. She had tried to cheat me out of something that wasn't hers, but in the end, she had only cheated herself. The sun was shining on my face, and I took a deep breath. "Are you okay?" Chris asked, standing next to me. I smiled. Better than ever. This was more than just a legal victory. It was the return of my life. I was in a broken marriage and hadn't seen a solution for too long. I trusted Emma, believed we were building a future together, but she was playing a completely different game. The next few weeks flew by. The divorce was finalized even sooner than expected. Emma didn't put up a fight. She couldn't. She had no leverage, and the evidence of her fraud was hanging over her. She left with nothing she came with. No agreement, no inheritance, nothing. She packed her things and walked out of my life. I thought I would feel empty. That's why I didn't think I would miss her after all this time. Instead, the silence was gentle, giving me a sense of peace. A new beginning. A month later, I sold the house. It held too many memories of her. But everything, both good and bad, was so intertwined that I no longer wanted to carry that burden. Armed with what was dear to me, I signed the papers and left. Now that I had turned my back on the past, I began to create something I had never done before. I invested part of my inheritance in myself. I quit my hated job. I started studying, looking for mentors in business, and launched a project that fascinates me. Now I have money, knowledge, and a purpose, and damn it, it feels good. One evening, I was sitting in a cafe relaxing when a woman approached me, smiling and her eyes shining. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, holding a cup of coffee in her hands. I looked up, and our eyes met. For the first time, I wasn't scared. I wasn't afraid. I was just curious. I smiled. Not at all. And so began a new chapter. Emma tried to destroy me. She tried to take away what wasn't hers. But I came out of it stronger, wiser, ready for something new. Because life isn't about clinging to the past, it's about creating the future. And I'm just getting started.